Alrighty, hello, it's Wallaber again. I'm back working on, or back streaming some work on Pro Gymnast for the first time in a little while. Tonight I'm pretty tired, so I'm going to take it kind of easy, and we're just going to fix a couple bugs, hopefully. We've got 2 bugs that I want to try and tackle today. One should be super easy, one not quite sure. We'll see. And then depending on how I'm feeling, next big thing I want to look into is Steam workshop support. So I want to add an ability for players to share levels they created easily, and also maybe even utilize that as a way for me to add special levels to the game kind of quickly and easily. So we'll see how that goes. But first, we're going to fix some bugs. So the first one is related to this. So if you're in the game and there we go. If you're in the game and you're playing a level, I randomly have the game stuck in Japanese right now, don't mind that. You play a level, you go to the replay editor, you decide you want to like do something cool. You go here, you set the camera to the free camera, and then you go into this mode where you can edit the position of the camera. I believe that it is the case that in this state, if you click on end replay, you get stuck in a state where input is ignored. So this should be pretty straightforward. I have, in order to have the game kind of work with controllers as well as keyboard and stuff, I have this thing that I created. It's just kind of a little tracking script called Input Owner. The basic idea of it is that you can have a chunk of your code that wants to sort of take over control of input. So like for example, normally the gymnast is the input owner and the controls are being handed to the gymnast. Then you hit pause. Now the pause menu should be the input owner, and those inputs you're doing and navigate the pause menu shouldn't be affecting, for example, the gymnast who's still sitting in the background there. And so input owner is just a quick way of saying like, hey, we can sort of just have a game object marked as the current owner of input. You can query if who the current owner is, or if a given owner is the current owner, and you can push and pop owners. So in that pause case, it's like the gymnast has control. You hit pause, we push the pause menu on as the current owner. The pause menu doesn't need to know where to go back to after it. It can just pop itself off when it's done, and control will go back to whoever had it before. And so basically what happens is lots of code grabs the input system, but only actually reads it if they're the current input owner, including the camera stuff. So if we go to, where is this going to be? Replay menu, probably. Let's see. Yeah, right here. So free cam. Oh, actually, part of the problem is that when you go into free cam edit, we're actually like, when you go start free cam edit, which is right here, we are actually not necessarily using input owner now that I see this. What we're doing though instead is we're turning on the free cam input system, the input mapping, and we're turning off UI and replays, which is the other input that you can use to like fast forward and rewind and stuff like that. And so certainly the case that's happening here is that this method gets called. Normally if you were just using the controller, this would be fine, because the only way to get back to, say, select that exit replay button would be to stop editing the free play camera, which would ultimately call this method and would restore all this. But you can do stuff with the mouse. So really what we need to do, I mean, the simple fix is to just restore this here on exit, just to be safe. We might as well just call this. This is safe to call pretty much at any time. So how do we leave? Is it right here? On did hide. On did show. Let's see. We probably have a method though, like, let's see, show, restart free cam, including export ended, export confirmed pressed. Yeah, so where does this actually happen? Somewhere else. It's probably in the replay manager, replay playback, perhaps. Yeah, here we go. So here's where we show the replay menu reference. Where do we hide it? Right here, on exit pressed. Okay, so what we could do is here say end free cam edit. We'll just put a note here for ourselves. If you exit the menu with the mouse while in free cam edit, some input, what are they called? Input maps. This ensures things get reset to normal. Okay. Cool. Alright, so that should be easy bug number 1 fixed. Let's confirm. Alright, so we're gonna, I should switch the language back to English as well. Hopefully we're gonna run this code at some point here. Come on. Come on. What's going on here? Is it gonna run? There we go. I don't know why that little thing pops up. Okay. Up, up, up. Go to replay editor. Oh, look at this replay. Let's mess around in it. Okay, let's go here to the free cam. Let's go into edit mode. Oh, look at us. We're moving around. And then we do something rude, like we just quit out. All right, we got control back. Look. Look. Look at that. Sweet. Let's make sure that the Gymnast controls restore. Oh, they may not. They may not. That's interesting. So this is probably an input owner thing. I wasn't seeing any input owner business taking place in the code here. Well, we do this. Yeah. Here, let's go back here. So where does this actually get called from? We call FreeCam controller okay, so I bet this. Let's go in here. This is going to do an input owner, push owner. And so we are going to need to here we're going to doubly make sure. Go into this. Here we need to be like if no. Oops. Hang on. Yeah, end FreeCam edit, which is not this. It's down here. Make sure the input owner is popped. So we can say if input owner is owner FreeCam controller ref. Then input owner pop owner. Actually, I think we don't even have to wrap this, because see how pop owner actually you pass in a game object? Let's go look at this. Yeah, so if it's not the current owner, it won't even do it. So we don't even need to wrap it in that. We can just go here. Not here. Where were we? Here. And we can just do this. And it has to be .gameObject. Okay. Let's try that again. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So whatever. Awesome. Replay. Come here. Turn this on. Go into edit mode. Mess around with it. Still editing it. Quit. Okay, now we can move the menus. And if we hit play, we can control the Gymnast. Oh, that was close. I can hardly ever do that without slow-mo. Let's try it again. Whoops, see? Alright, so the idea is you come here. Oh. Those are pretty nice. I'm just a little too far. Maybe arching too much. Not pretty, but I did it. Much arch, yeah. Alright, anyway, that bug is fixed. And now here's the weirder one. So let's go like this. Let's get out of here. Okay, let's go back. Let's change the language back to English. Okay. And now, so if we grab the Gymnast here and we go to a level, ideally, let me think about this. Let's do like something like this. So what seems to happen is you're playing a level, you finish it, you say I want to play it again, you grab the bar a few times, you reset. Oh, that was almost pretty. That was pretty, look at that. Okay. Grab the bar again, maybe. Nope, not like that. Not like that. But what I'm trying to get is there's like a scenario, and let me actually beat the level multiple times now, kind of at different speeds. Like so, there. Let's do it again, where it's like right off the first swing. With like slightly different timelines, see? And then do it again. And in theory, okay, so now let's say we like that. If we go look at this in the replay editor. You see how the smoke on the confetti is getting kicked off once, twice, 3 times, 4 times? So I believe those are remnants from previous runs. I think it might just be as simple as, and even there, like, we grab it here. Maybe that's just on the release. You see how there's like 4 different moments there where the particles are being triggered. And my theory is that, and it gets worse, like I've seen it happen many times. Let's see, it's like right there is probably the real one. There's another one there. That may be just a double because of the way that may be an error in the code. There's one right here. Doesn't make any sense. And there's one right here. It doesn't make any sense. And it's also coming with a matte impact, see? Which would do all of them. They do, see? There's a matte impact there too, which would be the feet hitting the mat, or the body touching the mat from a previous attempt at this level. So I guess what we need to do, we need to go look at the replay stuff for, and do I have it? How do I actually have it working? I think I have a thing just for particles. Maybe not, though. Oh, right. No, I don't think I do. I have matte impact particle placer. It's something like this, right? It has... What it does is it... How does the confetti cannon work? Where's the recording on it? Let's go figure that out real quick. I think these are gonna all have the same root cause. So here's the confetti cannon prefab, right? We have a thing called level end confetti cannon, and this thing is a recordable. Okay. So the way this thing works is when you call shoot now, we tell the recording system to remember where we were is the piece of information, and we add a keyframe, and that keyframe basically says the confetti was shot. So that in playback, if we cross that event in the playback and we're not currently recording, then we shoot off the cannon VFX. So it's very simple code here, right? So I feel like the problem is in the replay manager is that we have these things here, infrequent event objects, and the way those work is down here. See, we have an event recordable reference, which has a reference to the object in question, and then a list of the keyframes for that object. So my theory is that this is as simple as we're just not clearing this list when we restart recording. And so we're just getting data recorded over on top of itself for anything currently that's using this infrequent setup. So that should be as simple as a couple places we could do this. So prepare is where we prepare for recording. This happens like when you first load a level. We forget all the recordables and we start fresh. We also forget all the event recordables. So this should clear out any remaining keyframe data. So it's not going to be here. It's going to be in start recording where we want to do this. And so if it's not resume, clear any, because this is all this is missing it, see? Like what we're doing here is we call stop playing, which we could go look at real quick what that does. This doesn't do much. It just sets the state and it calls a bunch of methods to let people know that we've stopped playing. Okay? Then if I go back, you can see that after that, when you call start recording, there's two ways you can do it. You can resume a recording or you can start fresh. And so here's the case where we're starting fresh because we're not resuming. And so here we need to clear any infrequent keyframes. The other things that get recorded are getting implicitly reset as a result of this because they get a keyframe every recording frame. And so even if there's old data in there, we're writing over it and we never go past wherever we've marked the last keyframe data. But I think all we need to do is just go right here. And we need to go through all of our infrequents, which what is this data structure again? So it's an event recordable reference. Okay, so for each event recordable reference, event ref in event recordables dot event ref dot event list dot clear. This is probably all there is to it. There are a few other things I would love to do to the replay system. One of which is make it so that the playback of particles can actually work in reverse and in slow motion, which would just look cool. It kind of works in slow motion right now. It's not perfect. It could be better if I actually manually simulated the particle systems, knowing their start time. But the problem is right now, the way this game is set up, is I have some particle effects kind of strewn about. I've got this matte impact particle placer, which it does particle recording. I guess that this one knows that. What we'd have to do instead, though, is we would need to be using a different method. Yeah. Alright, well maybe we'll save that for another day. Yeah. Right, we have a pool of particles on this thing. Yeah. I mean, if we wanted to try it here, we would need... we not have this thing over here? I've taken this recording and replay system and used it in a subsequent project I've been working on, and I've made improvements over there that I really should bring back to Gymnast. But that's always a little bit tricky to do. And I've added in some things over on that version of it that I was just thinking I should go look for here, but I don't think they exist in this version. Let's see. Yeah, I cleaned it up quite a bit in the other one. I got rid of will and did for all this. Will and did, just did one each. And then I also had for infrequence, yeah, like a playback on playback head update or something like that, right? I could try tossing that in real quick. We could probably get it working for the matte impact and then also the grab particle placer. These are so similar. It's kind of stupid that I have two scripts that almost do the exact same thing. But show effect just finds one and sets it. When you call dpool, you're setting it active, and that causes the particles to play. Yeah. Right. I don't know if I want to do that. No. Okay, let's confirm that this actually fixed itself, though. So what we want to do is we want to play a level. We want to beat it fast a bunch of times. And we want to beat it slightly slower and watch the replay and make sure there's no cannons going off before it. That's the check. Okay. We're good, right? Do we have a compiler error? Doesn't look like it. Okay. Okay. We can go back to... let's see. Yeah. So we can just go here, go back to this level. Okay, so let's play it a bunch of times, getting slightly different timings, including not getting it. There we go. Also different positions, so if we go like farther away here, catch the edge of it. Okay, go around once again. Okay. Alright, now let's go around twice. And then get it. And let's go check the replay. Okay, so this is looking good. We're not seeing any phantom particles, but we are seeing the correct ones, right? So we're going to see the grab right here. Boom. We're going to see the release, which I think happens right. Or actually, there isn't a release, so that was a placebo thing before. Okay. And that was all good there with the collection of the chalk. Okay. And then one set of particles going off here. Boom. Cool. Now, the confetti. I've never liked how you can, when you're scrubbing through it, you can see it like, kind of like for one frame. Oh, hey Zeratok, how's it going? Are you speed running? No, I am fixing some smaller bug. I just fixed actually, Zeratok, your bug with the input getting lost. And then there's always been this bug where if you play a level a bunch of times and then do a replay of it, you would see like extra particles happen. Like extra particles for, like, see how the smoke comes out of the thing right there? You would see like tons of smoke going off, and it was actually the smoke from all your different attempts kind of layered on top of each other. So we finally fixed that. And while we're here, like, observing the replay, I've never liked this right here. See how the confetti appears weird and kind of like zooms into place and then plays back? I've never liked that. let's go see if that's an easy fix. So I think that's going to be in the... we have a special recordable script for the confetti. And probably what we just need to remember... What are we actually doing here? We are... Yeah, okay, so all this thing does is it just records the position, or the ID, the piece ID, the position, and the rotation for all the pieces of confetti. So I think what's happening is that when the confetti hasn't spawned, all the pieces, their ID is -1. And then when they get spawned, their ID might be, 0, 1, or 2, which is what shape of confetti piece are they? And because I'm recording this, we're getting an interpolation where it goes from like -1, and then on its way to say be a proper 1 or be a proper 2, it slides along there and becomes a real value. And that's going to screw it up. Right here when we get this. And so ideally we would want to be able to know about the frame beforehand or something, because this Zerataki is a pretty minor bug. I have a system in the game that keeps track of who kind of owns the input from the controller, and when you go and edit the free camera, it switches to saying that thing owns the input right now. But then if you go with the mouse and click to exit, you skip the part where if you would press B or whatever to stop on the controller, it would actually give up ownership of the input system. And so then it got stuck in a state where the free cam editing code still thought it had ownership of the controller, basically. So it was pretty easy to fix once I knew where to look. The thing is with this, it's right here. So we do this floor thing. I wonder almost if it would be nice to be able to pass along what the value was. Like here's the interpolated value, here's the previous value, and the next value. Like that would be nice to know. Then we can clean this up. But for that to work, I mean, it's kind of a... For me to fix it, I would have to go here and say when you get past an integer, you get v, and then you get like int prev val, and then int next val. Yeah, Zerataki, yeah, it's been tricky to make the game work where you can play the whole thing with the controller and also play it with the mouse and keyboard, at least, you know, for the menus and everything, and technically the game, I guess. And it's just, yeah, there's lots of little places where that can be, you know, easy to get slipped up. Okay, so if I change this, I'm going to have to touch a bunch of code, but it's probably the right idea because an integer, you don't necessarily want interpolation. If we do that, then we have to go here and we have to go like, we would have to go find everywhere we do this, which there's going to be, you know, meaningful amount, but the first place we would want to go is right here because we would want to say int preval and then int next val. And we'll do a special thing where we say if we do like this, we'd be like int val equals v, but there's a special case where if prev val equals -1, or is actually just less than 0, then val equals prev val, because we're not ready yet. these wouldn't have appeared until the next frame, and we're in between frames. And then we have to make this be val. Okay, and then there's going to be all these other places where we just have to make the function signature match. I think you did an awesome job. Whenever you have time, I'd love to hear how the replay works, because it's amazing. Is it a script playing back or just a recording? Yeah, so basically, let me grab, let's see, I would want this much, right? Okay. So yeah, there's kind of like a couple ways you can do replay. So there's like 3 ways I can think of that you would do a replay system in a game. The simplest one is you just record the inputs that the player made. And then if you want to play it back, you just start back from the beginning of however the game started, and you play back all the inputs, and you'll be at the same place the player was, right? That works if your game is, you know, deterministic, as they call it, which means that if you give it the exact same inputs, you're guaranteed to get the same outputs. And that's tricky to guarantee. Once again. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of games for which that style of replay system works fine. Like, but you have to be careful, because if your input is, all you're doing is recording the inputs, you have to be careful about maybe should you run the game at like a fixed rate, because if it was running at 30 frames a second on one computer, and so your input was every 30th of a second, and then you go run it on someone whose computer's running at 60 frames a second, I guess it'll look like it's running in fast forward. But you can have some issues there. You can also have issues with the way numbers are represented on different platforms. So that's actually quite hard to do. And in my case, I'm using Unity, and Unity's physics engine is not quite deterministic. So that means if I restart a level and you give it the exact same controller inputs, you're not guaranteed to get the exact same output. It'll be really minor, most likely, the difference, but it's not guaranteed to be identical. And it has to be identical for an input replay to work. Other problem with an input replay is it only works going forwards. You know, like if you say, hey, I would like to see 15 seconds into the replay. In the background, you need to somehow start from 0 and simulate forward 15 seconds to figure out what it looked like at 15 seconds. And now if I say, now go to 14 seconds, you have to start from 0 and simulate 14 seconds. So if your game is simple, you can do that instantaneously, then that's no problem. If your game's complicated, it makes things like rewinding really slow. So anyway, that's option 1. Option 2 is you just record the screen as like a video, right? Or something like that. A camera, it's happening, and you're getting actual just images. That takes up a huge amount of memory, but it's super simple. And then the third option, which is what I do, is you keep track of anything that changes over the course of a round and take little snapshots of it. And so then when you want to go back, you can just say, well, you know, I had a snapshot at 1 second and I had a snapshot at 2 seconds. If you wanted to be at 1.5 seconds, then I will go figure out a blend between my snapshot at 1 second and my snapshot at 2 seconds, which is essentially what the game does. So it takes a fair amount of memory. Like, I think the game is probably using about 200 megabytes of RAM or something just to hold on to a big chunk of memory so they can fit a couple minutes worth of replay data in it. But that's how it works. And so it's pretty simple. Like you can, let's see, I think here now I've done all the code changes I need to do except for the playback part, which is right here. Not here. Here. So here, what do we need to, we need the like, is this already interpolated? Let me remember how this works. Playback object, we get all the frames. Yeah, and we're lerping here, but we have this data right here. So what this would be is, let's go on to a new line here because it's going to get long. M tracks, it's this right here. It's these two numbers. So we grab that, we put that here. We take this, we say it's an int, and it's element 0, and then this one is an int, and it's element 1. Is that why sometimes replay will not always exactly show the same thing? What do you mean? Meaning the replay looks different than what happened in game? Okay. So, is this right? Oh, I don't have the J here, do I? J is 0, J is less than track size. Valvec J. Okay, that's okay. We know what this is. This is 0. In fact, we can just do this. We can just do this. Yeah. Do we have frame A and frame B down here? I think we do. Yeah, we do. Okay, now what's the complaint? Track A. Frame A. Oh, we don't need this stuff here. Okay. This is the individual number. Okay. Yeah, it does take snapshots. Now, it takes very frequent snapshots. You were asking above about the frame rate of the game, the sort of frame rate of the game. And essentially, this is, we're very close to getting this code to compile here. We gotta get rid of that. Now it should be happy. Okay. So the physics are being simulated. Let's go look at it. Project settings. Time. So right here, fixed time step 0.083333, which that should be 1 over 120. Yeah. So essentially, the physics are being updated 120 times per second. So yeah, normally when you're playing the game at full speed, you're seeing probably 60 frames a second, maybe 30. And so inside that each frame, it was actually doing roughly 2 to 4 sub-steps of the physics simulation. Which is one of the reasons the physics are very reliable in the game. It's because I'm stepping them a very short period at a time. It's true though, yeah, if your monitor and if the game can actually run at 144 hertz, then you're basically getting one physics step per visual frame. Although every now and then you might even get a frame where no physics step took place at all. But yeah, it's 120 hertz. And then I think actually the replay system captures like every other physics update. So it captures basically 60 frames a second, 60 updates per second. But when you play back in extreme slow-mo, obviously it can actually, blend in between. But those in-between blends for things that happen really rapidly won't exactly match what happened in the game. All right, let's see if we improved this. Oh, we got compiler errors. So we probably have a few more here. What's the problem there? What's it complaining about? Set playback int for track. Oh, I just haven't saved this. I haven't saved this. Okay, there we go. There we go. Now we go back here and see if we have any compiler errors. Yeah, so there's certainly things where if you're playing back in like really slow-mo, like if you're spinning the right stick really slow to look at the replay, you can see things like the hands will, like the bar will actually like bend to meet the hands, because on one frame they weren't touching, the next frame they were, and it was already or it was like there was a frame in between where the hands caught the bar and then pulled it down. But since you're missing that, you see the bar just like kind of like almost go catch the hands instead of the hands catching the bar. All right, do we still have some compiler errors? Yeah, we do. What do we got here? This one, which I forgot to save, and this one, which I forgot to save. All right, now how we doing? Okay. So if we did this right, I think the confetti will look better. And then I should look real quick while we're in here. Is there anything else that's really relying on integer track types? Not really. This is the confetti. This one is the score system. Score system actually like using the interpolated values, so I think we're okay with that. Or this, I should say the score playback system. And the controller doesn't use it at all. Okay. Okay. And in the replay measure, when we're talking about booleans, we say greater than 0.5. That's, you know, that probably could use some nuance, but that's okay. Yeah, I wonder if I should do this while I'm in here. Why not? When you're getting a boolean, we'll give you the bool, but we'll also give you the float, like the interp bool. Yeah, so this, you're asking about what's an integer track type. So the way the recording system basically works is every object that needs to be recorded can have tracks, almost like in a video editing software. You have like different tracks, but there's a ton of them. Each track holds one number. So for example, if you're like, I need you to hold my position, there's a shortcut for that where you say, hey, I need you to hold a vector 3, which is a position, and that automatically creates 3 tracks for you: X position, the Y, and the Z. And those all get recorded and then turned back into an XYZ for you. Quaternion is the same thing for rotations. So that requires 4 numbers. But you can also be like, hey, I have a whole number, which is an integer. You know, like I have some integer, some whole number I want to record. And every frame, I'm going to tell you what the current value is, and then on playback, I want you to give me back the value wherever we are in the playback. Under the hood, this integer is still turned into a floating point or decimal value. And so when we're in between 2 snapshots, like this snapshot, the integer was 2, and this snapshot, the integer was 5. And if the playhead is in between here, the floating point, the decimal value, will be somewhere between 2 and 5. It'll be at 3.5 or something. And so then that'll probably get turned into a 3 and then handed back to the code saying, hey, at that moment in time, you were a 3, which doesn't necessarily make sense because you were just a 2 and then you were instantaneously a 5. There probably was no meaning to having the 3 in between, which is the bug we're seeing with the confetti. And so I just added a thing where rather than getting the number sort of like blended, you can actually just be told, hey, we're in between 2 frames. Here's the one before, here's the one after. You're smart. Do what you got to do. In the case of the confetti, we can use that to say, okay, we're in between a moment where we didn't exist yet and we do exist. And when we're in between, we want to still stay not existing until we're fully existing. Let's see if that... if all that explanation actually does what I claim it should. Although before I do this, I just made a change here. We need this anywhere we have this. So let's do this again. Whoops. Thought I had this copied. There we go. Okay, so we do that. We're gonna need this. We gotta go everywhere where we use this and offer up this other option now. While we're here, we can look at the places we actually use this and see if there's anywhere we want to take advantage of it. Like here, collectible, playback collected. This one, I think the timing is okay. I think we kind of want it like that. We could say here it's actually like it would be like this. It'd be like interp bool is greater than 0.99f, That would probably be more accurate. Confetti, we're not using. The Boolean stuff. This one's not using it. Whoops. This one's not using it. This almost never used. Okay, and then we actually have to do this. And so here we're going to actually just pass along val vec 0 in case someone wants to see that direct value. And then here, I think we may want to do this. We'll say v equals interp bool is greater than 0.99f. Although I don't know. This is for the controller playback. I don't know what the right thing to do is there. Where do we consider you actually press the button? Is it halfway between the captured frames, or is it once we actually see a 1.0, you know? Let's try it like this. I don't think this is going to really make any visible difference. But I think it will make a difference for the confetti, so let's see. Hopefully it's going to compile. Alright. Okay. So this should just be as simple as playing one level and looking at the confetti in ultra slow motion. Alright, so let's... I guess we could just load a level. Let's do this one. Try and do a skip. Oh, too much. There it is. Okay. So now we go to the replay editor, we jump to the end, we come back, and we look at this and see if I made any difference or not. So right here, once we grab it, yeah, see, look at that. Now they just pop up to the first frame. You don't get that weird, like, sliding in between thing. Nice. That's, like, slightly cleaner. No one is ever going to notice it, except for me. But I do see, I play replays back and forth a lot, and that looks much better. Cool. All right, we did a bunch of replay cleanup stuff today, essentially. All right. I don't feel like doing the level sharing stuff today. I want to hit that when I'm feeling even more awake. So let me go look at my to-do list. So we fixed this. We fixed this. We also fixed, where was it? This. You can't see what I'm doing right now, but it's not that exciting. I'm just looking at my to-do list. Yeah, Zeratalk, actually one of the reasons I wanted to put in that visual feedback on the tight grip is so that you could play it and see if, make sure it appears actually every time you're using it, or if there's some other bug. Because I certainly haven't played a single round for as long as you have, but I don't see anything obvious in the code that would cause it to suddenly be ineffective over time. Although I have made a few fixes on it, so it's possible I fixed your issue when I went in there and I added the visual feedback. So when this next beta is put up, I definitely want you to test it out. All right, let's see. Are there any other little small cool things we could add? So we have a task in here for making twist speed depend on the pose. So like if your body is perfectly straight, you spin faster. And if you're tucked up, you don't twist quite as rapidly. I also would like to make it a little better where if you have twists queued up, it doesn't, because right now when you watch it, it's like slow-mo. It's kind of like shoont, 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 every 180 degrees, and it kind of comes to a stop. I'd like to make it that if they're queued up, it just keeps going smoothly. I'm not sure how hard or easy that is. Let me think on that one for a second. We had a request for a way to hide the UI from the game. That would obviously be very easy to do, especially if we just made it like a hidden hotkey. Tight grip. Different if you swing backwards and forwards. It seems stronger if you swing backwards. Yeah, in theory that it's not doing anything different based on the way you're spinning, but I do think there must be some physical difference between swinging in the two different directions, and it makes one of them more likely to hit the break condition than the other. And it's really tricky, because I don't want to tune it too strong, as you know. But I agree with you, actually, it does feel a little different depending on which direction you're swinging. I'm not exactly sure why, honestly. Let's see, so hide the UI option. Yeah, we could do that. We had a few requests for some props that are pretty simple, like a free-falling wall and a one-way fan. What else have we got? No. Sun markers are something I want to add, but they're not really that important. Oh, stun marker can get offset. That one is weird. I do need to figure that one out. Not a big one, though. Yeah, I do want to do that eventually, but it's not that important. Okay. Alright, I want to look into this free-falling wall. It feels like this might be super easy to add. There's two ways we could go about doing it. One way would be that we just add an option to walls. When you go into the options menu, you can just toggle if it should fall or not. One thing is he added is making multiple quick inputs be stronger, but that would be like luxury level. Okay. Oh, hey, Zero to Hero Dev. Hello. Thank you for the follow. I assume you are lurking in the chat. Lurk away. Thanks for hanging out. Let's see. So I could add an option to walls where you can say, hey, let this wall free fall. That's a little scary because in all the levels that have walls in it right now, we'd have to make sure they're smart and they assume that you can't, that wall is set to not move. Or just make a new entry for a movable wall, which would be significantly simpler. I mean, maybe that's what we do. So we already have a thing called line wall. If I just duplicate this, where does this thing live? This thing lives in props, right? Yeah. So let's do this, and we'll call it line wall underscore dynamic. Okay. Line wall dynamic would need a rigid body, and we would probably need some way to calculate the mass. We'll set it to a fixed value for our first test here. Let's make it 20 kilograms. And then we would want to put a replayable kinematic object on it. I don't think it needs to be in global space. This collider is the editor collider, right? No. Well, it kind of is. Okay. Now, how do the line wall sections work? I remember how this even works. Does this thing have a prefab or something? How does it work? Yeah, wall section. So wall section is just this, and yeah, the collision gets created dynamically, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so if we go here now and we say, do I have like a prop list or something like that? I feel like I do. Yeah, I do. Where is that? That's probably in data prop list. There we go. Okay, so let's add our new line wall dynamic to this list. Okay. Then we'll go here and we're gonna, it has a name already, it's separate, it's line wall dynamic, that's fine. It's gonna need a new thumbnail, we can make that later. Added, move, rotated, level goal, no, it should not have supports. Alright. Okay, let's see if this is partway to the solution. So here we are. Now if I go here in the wall section, yeah, here it is. Here's our new dynamic wall. Okay, put it right here. Let's hit play. Oh my god, we have a dynamic wall. Okay. Now let's try doing something weird. Like let's go like this. Let's make like a weird little cage. Okay, look at that. That's pretty cool. That's surprisingly simple. Now let's just check something real quick. If I go to the replay editor, it's even replaying properly. Look at that. Cool. Okay. So, if we wanted to include this as an object type, and I mean, I assume it's going to collide properly with things. Oh, I have another bug I just remembered. I gotta decide how I want to fix. Yeah, look at that. You can actually like hold it up by bars and everything. You could probably make a spring floor this way. Actually. Like if we go like this. We go like this. We make this a big dynamic, but it's probably not a good idea to make this too long. But we go like this. We put some bars underneath it. Maybe another one in the center. I don't know. We would probably actually want this to be in sections, but let's look at this. Yeah, it's got a little give to it. That's pretty cool. Oh, what a terrible back handspring. This is pretty cool. Hey. I know the Discord is gonna like this. So things we should do to make this work better is we probably need to be setting the mass. Right now I have hard coded the mass, right? So this thing is always 20 kilograms no matter what. But what really should be happening is we should work out how big it is. And then calculate a mass based on like a density. So we could just expand track wall to have that concept. I think that's a good idea. So what we would do is we would be like public float density. Let's say it's 1.0. Although based on that, maybe it's probably going to be bigger, but we'll set it later. We have a concept of density. Can you have a look at fans that give you momentum? Yeah, that was the other one on the list, and that one should also be really easy. So I'll maybe look into it tonight. We'll see how it goes. Okay. On state change, clear colliders, create colliders. So what we would do is after we're done creating colliders, we need to keep track of the overall length. total length, right? And then what we do, somewhere in here we should have the length. Right here, line.magnitude is the length of this line segment. So right here we should be able to be like total length plus equals line.magnitude. And then down here, once we're done looping through all this, it should be here, set density, question mark. And so then we would be like rigid body, RB equals get component, rigid body. You could maybe add literally big springs. Yeah, potentially. You could probably even make a springboard out of this too, especially if I gave you some way to anchor it to the world, which also would not be particularly difficult. So RB's rigid body, if the rigid body is non-null, and we say RB.mass equals density times math min of total length, and let's say we never let it get below 1.0. Okay, that should do it. So now, I wonder if we should make dynamic walls look slightly different. Like they should be a different color of wood. Maybe they could be like a redder wood or something. That would be a good idea. Let's go see, where does that actually happen? I guess it's in, is that in the prefab? Probably is. Prefab, props, wall section. No, it's not. Or is it? Wall wood. Extruded line. Okay. Right. So I would need to make a duplicate of this so I can have a different material. Right? Yeah. So we'll do this. We're going to dupe this and call it wall section dynamic. And really the only difference we're going to do over here is that we're going to make a new material called wall section. Ew, wait a minute. Maybe not. No, yeah, wall wood. There we go. So we'll make this one called wall wood dynamic. I like the idea of making it a little bit redder. Just a little bit, but just so you know, we can tell it apart. Something like that. So you have the normal, very kind of pale wood, and you have this darker, like stained wood almost. Maybe we'll make it like that. See how that looks in game. That may be too big of a difference, but we'll check. We can go here, and then we should be able to go to this and set that material like this. And then we got to go back to our other prefab, which is the wall. Line wall, it's called. Dynamic. And go find the prefab. Where is it? There's the pending one. Visual prefab section. Oh, we don't do it that way anymore? How do we do this? Oh, we just do it right here. Oh, right. I don't think I need to do that. Right. Actually, all I need to do is here. Set that. Okay. All right. Okay, let's go look at this. Forgot, I don't actually have prefabs per section anymore because it's one big piece. Okay, so now if we go here and we want to add in this new dynamic wall, hey, look at that. So here's a regular wall, right? This is not going to move. And you can tell because it has little supports that attach it into the world. But this one is a dynamic wall, so it's just going to fall. And so if we, go like this, it's going to fall, we'll hit it, look at that. All right, you can tell them apart for sure. I like that. Cool. Okay, so now we got to do the little oh, and let's check this. So let's go like this. Okay, now let's go look at this object here. This one. And right now the mass is 2. If I go over here and I adjust it, and then we hit play, and the mass is still 2. Interesting. Okay. So we may have a bug here. We're not updating the mass properly. Let's just double check. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be changing there. If I hit play, it's still 2. Okay, so that's not working. Yeah, the mass is the weight, and it should vary based on the size, but I've got some problem with that. It's in Create Colliders. I would think that that's the appropriate place to do this. Let's go back and look at this here. Props. Line wall dynamic. And we're on the track wall script, which is on the same level as the rigid body. So, am I doing something wrong here? Let's see. No, if do boxes. And do end capsules, okay. Angle. Add the colliders. Okay. So what's the problem here? Right. I would think by the end of this loop, total length would be a reasonable value, but it looks like it's not. It looks like it's... Oh, God, because this needs to be max. I always get these backwards. All right. There we go. Cool. Okay. So let's just double check that that's working properly. And then should be able to clean this up a little bit, give it a name that shows up properly, make it sort so it's not the first thing in the list, give it a thumbnail. All the little things you have to do to properly add a new object into the game. Alright, so now if I close this, there we go. Okay, and I go over here, let's make this a little bigger, and I add the new dynamic wall. Now if we go look at this thing, which should be in level root right here. Okay, the mass is currently 20. So if we go like this and change it and then hit play, 11.38. Okay, I'm gonna make it bigger and longer. 23. You now can lift the Gymnast up more, which makes sense because it's big and heavy. In fact, you could do stuff like this now if you really wanted to like make the object heavier. Like we go like that, and now it's 35, and it's, you know, heavier compared to the Gymnast. It'll have more effect on it. Sweet. Okay. So let's go back here and edit. Okay. I'm gonna get squished. Let's see if I can end up in relative safety here. Nope. Ouch. Cool. Alright, so we'll need to test a little bit more with saving and loading. Although there's no particular reason it shouldn't work, but we'll test it. But in the meantime, or before we do that, let's get a thumbnail. This should be pretty simple. So we're just going to modify the basic wall thumbnail and have a couple little lines on it to indicate that it's dynamic. We're also going to need a name for it in the localization document. All these edits I'm making are making the non-English versions of the games more and more out of date because I've been waiting until enough has piled up in terms of changes to the game before I pay for another round of localization. So I'll probably let that go a little longer. There hasn't been a ton of major changes to the game that feel like it's super important that I fork out the money right now to get those extra pieces of text fixed, but I will need to do it eventually. Let's see. Where am I going here? I'm going to find the thumbnail. We go here, Gymnast, Assets, Gymnast, Textures, Prop Thumbnails, and then we find the wall. We duplicate that, and we call that wall underscore dynamic. And then we open this up with Photoshop. Oh, Zertalk, you thought the French translation could use some improvement? I actually would love to know the details of that because I can give feedback to the company I worked with. I overall liked working with them, so I would probably give them the benefit of the doubt and give them some feedback. You know, the game is not super easy to translate because it has a lot of gymnastics-specific terms that is kind of unrealistic to expect the translators to necessarily know. But I want it to be right. I changed Japanese because I was watching some Japanese streamers who are gymnasts talk about the game, and they were mentioning that the name they used for chalk was different than what I had in the game, for example. Okay, we're just gonna put some little lines like that. Yeah, I would imagine if there's issues with it, they're primarily related to the gymnastics, terminology. But if you know the right words, let me know and I will change them. Actually, what I'll do is I'll get your help to change them by sending you the lines in question. Let's see, maybe we want this to be like this. This is where I wish I had like a little tablet or something. Thank you for complimenting my Japanese. No, although my wife's actually from Taiwan, but the two of us met in Japan doing an exchange program. And so we both speak Japanese, and I did an exchange program in Japan, and then after graduating from college, I lived there for a few years as well. So that's the reason I'm fairly fluent. Even to this day, I'm still pretty good. Certainly, I was better when I was living there, but yeah, I can still understand Japanese quite well. It doesn't come as naturally to speak it as it used to. My wife and I, we speak to each other in sort of a weird hybrid of English and Japanese with like a Mandarin word thrown in there once in a while. So we're kind of weird. Okay. So this should be fine. This should indicate it's a moving wall. Yeah. So we're gonna save this as a PNG. There we go. Wall dynamics, save. You want to replace it? Yes, we do. Cool. And then now we can go back here. And we can go to this. And we can say, you have a new thumbnail. It's this one. It indicates your dynamicness. And then there's a little number down here. Where is it? Object sorting bias. So the main wall is 0. And then I think we have like the slippery wall. Do we have anything else in the main wall category? I know we do. But really this should be like 2. It should be after the main wall. Let's look at that. I had a friend from Thai, one called Thai 2. Yeah, Japanese is a very interesting language. I'm really happy I learned it. For an English speaker, oh, this is still weird. So we have basic wall, sliding door, and trap door. Okay, let's go look at that. We have basic wall. Oh, it's because I just did this wrong. This should be a 0. This should be like a 2-ish. And then this door, what is it? Door or sliding door, or what do I call it in here? Door wall is 25, so that's fine. And then the trap door, which everyone has been using as springboards, is 50. Perfect. Okay. That should fix that. Now let's go update the localization document. And where is that document? It's over here. Here we go. And we want to find, well, let's let it load. Okay, we want to find, is it prop name line wall? There it is. Okay, so we want to duplicate this. Or just insert one below. Yeah, it's just a Google document. Prop name line wall underscore dynamic. Pretty sure that's what I called it. Let's go double check. Line wall underscore dynamic. Okay, cool. So this would be, what should we call it? Not a basic wall. I mean, we could call it basic wall and then in parentheses put dynamic, but that's kind of weird. We could call it a falling wall. Falling wall. Let's see. Yeah, or like what am I gonna call this in Japanese? I can at least do the Japanese translations while I'm in here. This is not a good translation, but that's okay. I'm okay with it. Alright, so then what we do for now is we copy in English to the other languages. Of which there are 10, so it's quite a bit of work to get all these translations done. And then what I've been doing is I've been marking these as with a highlighted color when I've added stuff. And I've been using this kind of reddish color, so let's do that. I think that's like, which one was it? This color? Not quite. This one? Nope. This one? Nope. I keep selecting the same thing, don't I? Is it this one? Yes. Okay. So there's my It was recently added and needs to be translated. Indicator. So now that that's in this file, we can go back to the game. Project. We can go to the resources folder. Click our localization file, click download, and we should see that that number of string 682 is now a 683 because there's one more. So now if we hit play, and let's go look at this full screen. So now we go here, and we go down to this, and there you go. You got a basic wall, you got a falling wall, you got a sliding door, you got a trap door. Nice. Now this does make me want to make a hinge object. Although I'd have to think a little bit about how it should work. But I mean, it would be an object that you place, and if it's overlapping with something, it glues to it and creates a hinge in the world. Which would mean we could make some fun levels by combining falling walls and that. Yeah, static wall might be a good rename for the original wall. Or moving. Yeah. Moving to me sounds like it's gonna have a path or something. Maybe that's because I already have this thing called moving path bar. But that's pretty cool. I guess we could look at the wind system. This one. We have slow down fan, so we should make a speed up fan. Also, I don't really love how that thumbnail looks squished there, but that's okay. Let's look at this. How do the fans work? I have to remember how the fans work. Props. Did I call it slow down fan? I think I called it like something to do with momentum. No. What did I call it? Not called a fan. Let's see. Bar spinner, no. Basic bar, no. Door wall, no. Fixed kind of free bar. Grab wheel, no. Landing mat, no. Line wall logics, no. Movers, no. Music speakers, parallel bars. Track mover, Travis tripwire, tutorial. It's called velocity damper, of course it is. Alright, so what we want, let's go, how does this thing even work? So it has two editor colliders, and then it has its main collider right here, which is a trigger, and it just has this velocity damper trigger on it, and basically just, and this is designed to slow you down. The whole point of these fans was to allow you to kill your swing really reliably and quickly. Mostly for earlier levels where I didn't want you to get swing that you didn't need. But it means that I can use a setup very similar to this to give you speed. So let's try making one. So we're gonna go like this. We're gonna go props. Yeah. And we want a copy of the velocity damper that is called the speed up fan. Okay, and so a speed up fan should only have one fan visible, like that. And I guess it probably should be centered. So when you're placing it, it's like you're placing the fan, right? And then there's going to be one editor collider here. This is the thing so that the cursor knows you're selecting it. Okay. And then these sit back from the level a little ways, which is fine. And then there's the trigger. So the trigger, we're going to keep it. We're going to try it just like it is right now. Oops, that's not it. Oh, okay, cool. It's here. So we'll just say like, okay, if you're generally in front of it, And I mean, I suppose we could make the size of this trigger grow depending on proximity to the fan. But what we could do right now is make it just kind of generously big. Like this. Something like this. And so if you're inside this region, you're gonna feel the effects of the fan. And later I could make some visuals to sort of indicate this. And then we don't want a velocity damper on it, but we want a similar script. So we're gonna make a similar script called what are we gonna call it? Proportional force trigger. So this is a proportional force trigger. And we still need a direction. We don't need a damping factor. Instead, what we want is we want a transform, which is sort of like, actually we're going to do it like this. We're going to have a transform that is the force plane. And then we're going to have a public float max force. Then we're going to have a public animation curve, which is force fall off. And then we're going to have a public float max distance. Okay. And so then whenever an object is inside the trigger, we process it. We process it by getting the rigid body. And this is going to be just like dead simple, I believe. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a plane. We're going to calculate it from the reference. So this would be, what can we do? We give it a normal and a point. So it'd be force plane dot forward, force plane dot position. Okay. Then we got to do float current distance. And we do p dot get distance to point. We're going to get it to the center of the rigid body in question. So this would be the rb dot position. Okay. And then float normalized distance. Going to be just clamping between 0 and 1, cur distance divided by max distance. And then we say float force magnitude is equal to max force times force fall off. Oops. Force fall off dot evaluate the normalized distance. And then we just do rb dot add force, and we add it in the force plane dot forward direction times force magnitude. Okay. Okay. That should be the math. Now we go back here and we say come on. Okay. And this thing has like some kind of rotator on it, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Okay. So we can eventually try and make this kind of fancier, but to get it tested, velocity damper trigger, we're going to remove that. Instead, we're going to add a proportional force trigger. Then we need to create an empty object, which is the force plane. Okay, put that up here. And that thing, it needs to have its forward axis, which is the blue axis, pointing in the direction that the fan looks like it's blowing in. And then we're going to place it like right there to match up the edge of the trigger. Okay, so that is, oh, this should just be a 1. And then we're also going to have this thing. There's only one support for this, so let's fix this while we're in here. This needs to be right there. Okay, so that is not assigned, or it is assigned. It's right there, but this should only be one element long. And then the force plane gets assigned here. Max force, we don't know what it should be yet, but force fall off. If this was accurate, like physics-y, it would be like a parabola. Something like this. It could be linear with distance, actually. I'm not sure. We're going to try something like this. Okay, max distance should be 8 because our trigger is 8 units, right? Yeah, I feel like that's pretty good. Okay. We should probably put in a little particle system, but we'll get there. This is just a basic prop. So we're going to ultimately need to expose some parameters for this, I think. You can control the strength of it. But let's try it. Surprised that is a 0. Okay. Alright, so if we go like that, then we go in here to data. Prop list. Props. What did I call it? Speed up fan. Speed up fan. You get added to the list. Okay. So the fan will push you harder the closer you are. No way you could have an option to have it be the same no matter the distance. That would be useful for tumbling. Well, maybe, but it's going to push you. You're going to gain speed no matter what. So this, I think, will actually behave more like people would want, but we'll see. Okay, so here's our test fan. Now it's probably not going to produce much force yet. Oh yeah, you see that? Look at that. Ooh. Okay, so now if we change the strength of it right here, we can say, oh, yeah, max force is 100. Then it'll lift us. Oh, we can make like a one of those like skydiving facilities. Now this is not taking air resistance into account at all. For example, if you're like horizontal to it, it's not as though it pushes you more than if you're like vertical to it, see? So it's not particularly realistic. We could actually incorporate a certain amount of aerodynamics to it, potentially. That's probably me overthinking the need for it, right? But it might be kind of cool. Now, in theory, if we are like kind of offset from this, we get spinning like this, then we should get some rotation from it. I suppose it's a little weird that it pushes you perfectly straight up. It probably should, you know, Like this is extremely unrealistic. So what we could do is that the actual direction of the force is coming out in an angle. So you have to be perfectly straight on if you want to rebound straight up and down from it. That's probably better. That should be pretty simple. That's just right here. We need to say force dir equals RB dot position minus plane, force plane. Or what we just do we have it already? P dot. P dot origin. Does that exist now? We don't need that. Force plane dot position. And then we just need to normalize this. Yeah, and then that is what we use here. Okay. Yeah, this is gonna be fun. You're gonna be able to make some ridiculous levels. I've been adding a fair amount of new props to the game. I should just make a new set of levels that just makes use of these new props. Okay, go here. Where is it? Here. Speed up then. Alright, so we'll point it straight up again. And now, in theory, if we're off to the side a little bit... Oh, wait. And, we're going to need a way to set the strength of it. But for now, we just grab it here and set the max strength here. What did I set it to? Like 100 before? I think. See? Now we get pushed off to the right. And if we're like kind of right on top of it, we should go up mostly straight up. But we're going to go a little bit to the right because we were biased off to the right. Nice. That's kind of more how I would expect it to work. Whew. So now we should be able to do weird stuff like this. Although right now these are not going to have the same strength because one of them is set stronger than the others. But if we put this like this, and we put a bar here, and we put another bar over here, in theory, we should be able to I got a lot of push off of that. Actually, if we get rid of this one that we made stronger and just add in the fresh ones, which are set to strength of 30. Let's see how this looks. We're definitely going to need some... okay, so it was mostly that first one that was giving me the strength. Oh my gosh. Hang on. This is gonna be awesome. Oh, come on. Ugh. Darn it. Hang on. Oh, not enough speed. Almost. Wow, look at that. That's so cool looking. If only fans are actually this powerful. Oh, too many twists. What was I thinking? Hang on. Let's add another one. This is so dumb. Okay, and we're gonna grab this and this. We come over like this. I can probably go a tiny bit farther. Okay, here we go. We definitely need some indication of like the area of influence. This is looking pretty good. Oh, too high. Can we go back? Oh, the terrible pike. I ruined it. I ruined it. Let's go look at this. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Showing some wind, like sort of like rippling off of the Gymnast or something. Oh no. I actually feel like maybe the fall off does need to be linear. It feels like they're pretty strong out to a pretty far distance. Oh no. 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 That's a replay right there. We have to grab that as the first official fan prop replay. Pretty awesome. Alright, we're gonna export that. Cool. So probably like one more dev session on this and I'll have this prop done as well. We need to make it so you can control the strength of it. And then give some kind of visual indication of the range of it, and then like whether or not you're being affected by it perhaps or something. To think about how that should look. Oh man. Yeah, Zertalk, I thought the video was pretty cool. Oh man, this angle's no good. You can't even see the fans. The drone might look cool. Yeah, they're pretty strong right now. I think. Hard to say. Interesting how much height I got on the way back there. I guess it's because I launched upward so much there that I had some upward momentum there. Free camera behind the stage. You mean like that you could go? Oops. That you could go past here and like turn around. You could do that. I mean, the main thing is that there's nothing behind the scene at all. So it kind of reveals how there's literally no, like, even here you can kind of get angles where you realize that the world ends pretty rapidly. So that's kind of the reason. Here, wait, let's do like a epic angle here. Okay, and we'll just do the cross. That's pretty great. I have to export that real quick too. Alright, so this is probably where I'm going to wrap it up for tonight. pretty good progress. Fixed some bugs that were bugging me in particular. We added in a dynamic wall, which is surprisingly easy to do. Kind of makes me wonder why I didn't have it in the first place. And then we got in fans, which are ridiculous and pretty cool. And probably need a little tuning, and then need some finishing. They need thumbnails. They need the ability to control the strength, and then the fan blade should spin. The rate of spin should be tied to the strength. And then we need some visuals. It might be kind of cool if they had like little streamers attached to it that were like waving like that. Did a lot. Any of this going on beta? Yeah, probably. I did not look at Matte Collision. Yeah, I'm a little scared on that one. I don't want to break the existing levels, so I have to think about if or how I will fix it. But yeah, I think once I get these props done, I'll probably make a new beta build and get some feedback on it. And then after that, I'm going to start working on level sharing, I think. All right, cool. This was good progress today. All right, so I'm going to add some notes here to my to-do list. So the free-falling wall is done, but the speed up fans, we need adjustable strength, visual range indicators, turn speed tied to strength, localized name. Okay, so we'll probably get that in, and then I guess that was the one-way fan, so we'll mark this as in progress. And maybe I'll try and throw in a hide UI button because that's super easy next time. Put that at the top here. And twist speed, I really should get to this sooner than later. Yeah, Zertak, I could add another mat type. It's like a tight-fitting mat or like whatever, something like that. That can fit right on the grid. It doesn't shove the neighbors around. Okay, cool. So, pretty happy with the progress today. I will probably be back. I think maybe if I stream tomorrow, I'm going to work on the chat game a little bit, I think, and then I'll be back on everything I just talked about for Pro Gymnast. So I'm going to try and get a fair amount of work done on it this week. I'm pretty motivated, so it's going well. Thanks everyone for hanging out, and see you all next time.